Welcome to today's Immigrant Survivalcast. Today we have our wonderful guest, Neeraj, comedian Neeraj. He moved to United States with his family 19 years ago. And it's a pretty racially charged episode, and I mean it for real. We talked about religion, we talked about the weird dynamic between the Asian community and the Indian community, and self-help, a lot of good stuff. So tune in.
This is a nice setup. You got
Okay,
all the
thank you.
Yeah, it's
Thank
not
you.
bare bones. I've done a podcast where it was just this dude's bedroom, and it was
Okay.
like one mic that we both had to talk. He had like a desk in the corner, and there was one mic.
Yeah.
we both had to talk into the mic. But it
One
was
mic for two people.
for two people, and he was just like in shorts, and I don't know. It was fine.
Wow.
So this is like this is a nice little setup here.
Neeraj, you told me you're from, like, the first time you told me you're like from India, I thought you were lying.
People think I'm lying. It's
Because
not a
you
lie.
don't have an accent.
I know. Well, I do. I have a white accent. I don't know.
It triggers me.
It'd be
so
funny
much.
if I was like,
Because I just imagine all the hours I put in as a kid trying to shake off this
Trying to
Asian
lose an accent.
and I still have it. And sometimes when I say it,
Yeah.
when I speak, I'm like, oh, I sound like American. And then I record myself and listen afterwards, like, nah, you sound pretty Chinese.
I think
still.
I have a better brain than you. I think that, no, I'm joking. Like, I don't know. I've always, like, I grew up learning
There is a
different
hierarchy
languages.
within the Asian community. and
The
the war has
accent
begun.
able and the accent disabled. No, it's but even when I lived in India, like my mom
Yeah.
had me do like language classes. You know what I mean? So I was at an early age. I think like I trained to listen to sounds more carefully and mimic them.
Are you from a rich family with maids and shit?
No. We didn't have maids, but we did have a lady that came and cleaned a couple times a week.
Okay.
So I remember, I don't know if that's quite a maid. Like she wasn't like a butler. I guess a maid is like a female butler, right?
Yeah.
A butless.
Yeah,
That
this is
sounds-
weird because this is totally a stereotype because I've never been to India. And
Yeah.
this might sound ignorant, but I feel like everybody in India is either has maids or is a maid.
Like
or
are an actual
somebody.
maid. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, that's just me in
Like
America.
the disparity of like.
Here I'm a maid. I dress up like a maid and I
Yeah.
go to rich men's houses to clean up. No.
So
that's
how
not what
did
I
you? Okay, so this might be really useful to a lot of immigrants, including myself.
do. Okay.
I'm actually fine because I'm a translator, so
Okay.
I don't actually have the language barrier. But
Right,
for a lot of
right.
people, like the language barrier and even an accent. Like I know it sounds really brutal because like why do we have to comply to the white accent, right?
Right.
But the reality is, it does get in the way sometimes.
Sure, for sure. Especially if you're dealing with white people.
Yeah.
Because like I'll see, like I think my sister and I have very successfully cultivated like very American accents, but like I still see my parents like struggle with it. You know what I mean? Because they came here so much later in their life.
And Indian people have like very strong accents.
It's a very pronounced and.
Why is that? Why is that? First of all,
I just think the sounds that it takes to like speak Indian languages are like strong sounds and
Yeah.
like really, like emphasized and like I don't know, at least that's how I was like taught to speak with like diction and like really crisp pronunciation. And then I feel like even when I speak English, it's kind of like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like there's people that mumble, but it's like that feels strange to me.
how
to
did
be
you
like a
train your
mumbler.
ears and how did you train yourself to?
Just practice, I guess. Because my family's actually from South India, but when I was really young, we moved up to North India. So I
Okay.
grew up, like my earliest days in school, I was like only speaking Hindi. And then when we moved back to the South, I had to learn Tamil. And like, I guess if someone doesn't like know the difference or like speak one of them, like they sound pretty much alike, but they're very different languages. So
How many like major languages are there in India?
I don't know, like at least 10. I'm certain. I mean, they make movies in at least like 10 languages. I'm
Because
pretty
I
sure.
translate subtitles for a living, and I
Yeah.
did a lot of like Indian movies.
Nice.
But sometimes like the source language varies. Sometimes is
Right,
Hindi,
right.
sometimes it's not. Like then I thought it was just Hindi and English.
Yeah.
But the other ones, are they dialects or are they actual different languages?
I don't know exactly where the line falls to make the distinction. I just know that all of them have different texts. Like it's not like if you could read one, you could just read the other. You know what I mean? Because the alphabets are different. Some of the words are the same, just because like I think most of them come from Sanskrit. Yeah, I'm not sure, but I think
How many languages do you speak? Like,
I
proficiently?
comfortably, I'd say I'd speak two.
Okay.
Like, I speak Tamil and English, but I took like years and years of Spanish, and I understand Hindi pretty well, but it's like I can't really speak it so much. So I could watch like a Hindi movie and like kind of
Yeah.
get what's going on, but like to form sentences or to read it was like impossible for me.
so like, what is your okay? So when I try to learn English, right?
Yeah.
Like, I try to imitate Conan O'Brien.
You want to sound like Conan O'Brien?
Because it's not like I want to sound like him. He pronounces English words in a very weird and exaggerated way, which make it easy for me to imitate.
Okay.
Like, a lot of people mumbles. Like, for example, I can never learn English from like Norm Macdonald or Stephen Ray,
Notorious mumbler.
yeah, or even Jon Stewart. Like
Right.
he mumbles too. But it's Conan O'Brien. And also Stephen Colbert, when he did the Colbert Report, he was slow. He speaks really slow, which makes it easier for me to understand.
Are there a lot of mumblers in China? That seems like a language.
This is like a universal thing.
Yeah. Every language has mumblers.
Yeah. So you
Okay.
can't, like, the mumblers, you can't really learn from them. So do you
It's
have
true.
any, like, what do you watch like a lot of TV shows?
I mean, I also think I moved around a lot when we were stateside. So like initially, like my family moved to Virginia, and then
Yeah.
we lived in Texas, and then we lived in upstate New York and Wisconsin. So like we spent time in like we spent time in like all these different parts of the United States, and then Idaho. You know what
Yeah.
I mean? So I think the fact that we got to experience a lot of different accents, I think like helps train your ears too in a certain kind of way. Like, I don't know, like I sound pretty like West Coast at this point, but
You just sound white to me.
I just sound white, right? Yeah.
Or you're like the number 3, actor in the movie, like the white lead's best ethnic friend.
I could be, yeah. I think I love how that's as high as I can aim, like it's
And it's not
a brown
what you can
lead is
aim.
just an
It's,
outrageous
hey,
question.
it's still USA. I mean, they
It's true.
said
It's
it's
true.
our turn, but is it though?
It's never,
Is it
no
though?
one's taking turns, there's no turns involved.
So when did you move here? You said it's like 19 years ago.
That's right. Yeah, I moved here in the summer of 2001.
With your how did you get here?
My dad had actually lived here for a while. I think he had kind of traveled back and forth from U.S. to India since like the 99, I guess.
Through his work or doing business?
Just for work, yeah.
Okay.
He was a contractor. He did like IT stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And then after he had lived here for a while, he was able to get us visas, and then my mom, my sister, and I came over all three at once.
So how long does it take for your dad to kind of move the whole family like to America?
It took a couple of years because I remember he like got like a longer posting, and I think that's what allowed him to do it, because before that it was like short contracts. I don't know exactly what the technicalities were, but I know that it was quite a bit easier before 9/11, and like definitely
It has
before
nothing to
Trump.
do with you guys.
I know, but I think there's just something.
It's just immigrants.
Just all immigration
back
was
up.
kind of like they sort of put more pressure on all sort of aspects of immigration, and just outsiders coming in afterwards, which is why I think it took us so long to get our citizenship. Like after we were here, like even to
So-
get my green card, it took like years and years.
So can you walk me through a little bit of? I know it was many years ago. You may not remember all the details, but like your dad got a work visa. Is it H-1B first, or is it like a L-1?
I'm not sure,
Okay.
but I know he was on H-1B for a while.
And then he, I think, got a green card through his work.
He got a green
and
card,
citizenship.
and then eventually, and
So
then
he
we got
petitioned for
citizenship.
you and your mother or your family while he's a citizen, or while he
No.
he's a permanent resident?
He was still on either an H-1B or an L-1, I think,
Okay,
at the time.
it's
Yeah,
just
yeah.
gradually, but it
Or
takes years.
or a work visa. I forget which one that is. But and then it took a long time while just basically going from contract to contract on H-1Bs until we could get the green card.
When did you get your citizenship?
It was March 2015.
Oh my! So how? Okay,
So it took 14, almost 14 years
So
to
it
get
took
citizenship.
14 years.
Yeah.
What? That's insane.
Yeah.
Does it vary? Does it vary country from country?
It has to, right?
I mean, because
It just seems like it would be so much easier if you're a Canadian to become a U.S.
I know, because I
citizen.
interviewed like 3 Canadians before, and
Yeah.
they're like, "Oh, I just filed paperwork, and it sounds like they just decided I'm gonna just
do it.
just go do it."
It's like getting
possible.
a California license if you just move here from another state.
Like USA is like, welcome,
Yeah.
come in.
I'm sure,
you
but
know?
I'm like certain it would have been harder. It would have taken longer for us if we were like Mexican or Iranian. You know what I'm saying? Like,
can you imagine being like a Middle Eastern?
I can't imagine.
Yeah.
I hear they're.
You didn't do anything. They're like, no, you people did it.
Yeah.
It's like I don't even know. Like, you know.
I mean, I know comics who've multiple times like ICE has like come after them. Like,
What do you mean ISIS come after
like
them?
ICE has come after them.
Oh,
because,
okay.
yeah,
I thought ISIS come after them.
No,
What the hell
well,
happened?
maybe.
Yeah,
you know,
yeah. I see.
sure.
You mean the yeah.
It seems like ISIS doesn't think comedy is good. I feel like they wouldn't be very into.
Would it be bad if, like, in their country, ISIS come after them, and when they move here, ICE
came after you? Yeah, I
It's
know. No
like-
matter where you are, so just some kind of ICE is coming after you. Ah, it's so true. That's basically what the world is turning into. It's just everyone's just gonna become like a Jason Bourne, where they're just going to place and people are coming after them.
So why? I mean, this might sound like a very stupid question and the obvious question, but why did your family decide to move here? Like, what is the trigger?
It was important for my dad to, I think, like give us the best education, at least as well as he could. And I think very early on he realized that wasn't going to happen in India. And he had lived in other places. Like he lived in Australia for a while. He was in Ireland for a while. But it was really after he moved here, he was like, all right, I'm going to move my family here. Because it's just, I think there wasn't as much skepticism about the American dream back then. People weren't as hesitant to like get on board with it. You could talk people into that sort of thing.
So how old were you when you first moved here?
I was 9.
You would not. Okay, so you were a
9 years
kid.
old. Yeah,
Did you
yeah,
have
yeah.
like a little image about America when you were
Yeah,
this is gonna be awesome.
I thought we would have a butler. I thought I really thought
the swimming pool,
you'd come
like the
here
Hollywood
and
movies.
we were gonna be in a giant house with butlers, and then I wouldn't have to give a shit ever.
Yeah. What's the reality?
We moved into a 2-bedroom apartment.
That's
in
not bad.
A filing cabinet like this, but there was no art, no furniture.
Where's the butler, Dad?
There was no butler. I remember our first night, we had to we didn't have like a dining table or anything. You know, 'cause,
Yeah.
like my family just moved, we didn't have any furniture.
Yeah.
So my mom, in order to make sure we don't spill on the carpet,
Yeah.
was serving us plain rice. Out of bowls that we ate.
With no curry or sauce or anything?
No.
Oh, the carpet.
She got some yogurt and salt, and we mixed it in with the rice.
Oh, God.
And we like, you know how you get like spam mail, like paper? Like we just spread that across the carpet. So my mom was like,
God.
okay, you're going to make a mess. So you have to eat over the paper. So that's what we did. We sat around in silence and ate cold yogurt rice.
I want to go back to
Over
India.
paper, yeah. It suddenly became so shitty. Like, very, you know what I mean? But there was still like, I don't know.
I feel like you got catfished by your parents.
A little bit, yeah. It was a bait and switch. I think they still, they were overcome with a sense of possibility, as they should have been. You know what I mean? I think they did a really good job of like instilling that in my sister and I too. And I think that's why, like, I don't know. I feel like I've lived a pretty wild one. You know what I mean? I've taken a lot of interesting.
So you
turns.
told me you have. I asked you this question because you're like a comedian. I knew you through comedy.
Right.
Like, do you have any other hustles? You're like, I have 10 jobs.
I have 10 jobs.
So what are the 10 jobs?
I sell Coke. No, I work with a bunch of companies doing like freelance production work.
Okay.
For like live event stuff. When I can get it, I do like video editing and stuff like that. I'm working on a podcast with my friend. Like,
okay.
I just, I try to get good at a variety of things, and now I'm just sort of hopping from here and there and, trying to make money.
So you're still the technical guy within the entertainment industry.
Yeah, to an extent. Yeah,
That's good. That's
you could
actually
say
good
that.
because
It's okay, you know.
I mean, there's no stable job in this industry, but the
Right,
technical
right.
ones are a little bit more stable,
Right.
than let's say an actor or a performer.
It's true. It's true. And then, I mean, best case scenario, you get like a long-term acting gig, right? Like, because that helps you.
yeah, the
in your
next Big
stand-up,
Bang
like-
Theory.
Yeah,
they
I mean,
need-
yeah,
they
those
need a
guys
guy
are-
who does not have an accent.
I think there's more and more of that now. It's like,
Yeah.
it won't say a guy that doesn't have an accent. It'll be like accent optional.
Yeah,
And that lets me know it's like, okay,
it is.
we're not going to
change-
ask you to do an accent, but
It
if you
is-
did, that's cool too. Like,
It is changing though, because I remember when I was watching when cable when like network television is
Yeah,
still
yeah.
a thing. Now nobody's give a shit, but when people still watched CBS or whatever, remember this is Big Bang Theory and
That's
Two Purl
right.
Girls, right?
Two Broke Girls.
In
I
the Big
remember
Bang
that
Theory,
show.
you have Raj, this Indian guy who has a
Yeah.
thick accent, very stereotypical one. I'm not gonna say they make him look bad, but they make him look really goofy.
They make all those guys look pretty goofy. Like, that's the point of the show,
Yeah.
right? Is that they're like
Yeah.
dweebish guys.
And then it's not
Also,
as,
that's how that guy talks. I'm pretty sure that's his actual accent.
yeah,
you know
yeah,
what
yeah.
I mean?
He's from. I think he has a pretty thick accent.
He speaks English well, obviously, but it's obvious that like he's not a native speaker.
And he's
I
a
guess.
good-looking man. I
He's
don't
a
know why they
good-looking man.
portray him like this. I guess
Is he the
nerdy.
best looking man out of the four, would you say, if you had to have sex with one of them?
I know, like, what Sheldon's gay.
Sheldon's
So
gay.
Probably.
He's a handsome gay man.
Yeah,
I guess.
it's
Sure.
him and Sheldon. And Sheldon's gay. What else do I have?
I guess your options are pretty narrow at that point. Yeah, Sheldon's
the
not
one
playing.
that's not gay, who's not gay.
Yeah.
And then it's the Two Purl Girls. I mean, the Big Bang Theory one is not as bad as the Asian character.
I've
in
never
Two Purl.
seen that show.
It's a very short Asian man.
Okay.
It's like shorter than Bobby Lee. No offense to Bobby Lee. It's
How
like
short is Bobby Lee?
5'4".
Jamie, look that up.
5'4". I know. I love to listen to his podcast, so I know he's 5'4".
Okay,
He mentioned it
okay.
himself.
Gotcha.
It's like shorter than Bobby Lee, right? It's like borderline like little person, but he's
Okay.
not. And he's a restaurant owner, and he has this very weird voice, and he's just like the
Can
punching
you do the
bag.
voice? It seems like it wouldn't be wrong if you did it.
I can't even do the voice.
You can't do the
and
voice,
then his
yeah.
whole role is getting laughed at and made fun of by those two girls, right? The blonde one and the brunette
Because
one.
of how Asian he is, or they just make fun of him like that's his
Just
thing.
everything, the Asian jokes or short jokes or whatever, and he is the boss of the restaurant, and the two girls are actually waitresses.
Yeah.
Which does not make any sense. You can't just talk shit, like of your boss like in front of him all the time. But it's a sitcom, okay?
Yeah.
It's this comedy.
This is I don't know. That's the problem with shows like that too. I feel like then you meet people and that's just their idea of like having a personality is just being kind of a dick to you.
And then they
like,
have this cook, Oleg, who's this Mexican or I don't know,
Okay.
Latino cook who's like really
Latin cook.
Mexican cook on the back kitchen or whatever.
Right.
It's just everything's so certain.
But the two broke girls are like two white girls.
Two white girls.
Conveniently broke.
Who's trying to chase their dream.
Okay.
Who lost
They're
everything.
not like trying to feed kids. Like
No.
they're
They're trying to run their cupcake business.
They're trying to run a cupcake business.
Yeah. And
Okay.
they're laughing at this guy who already actually made it. If you think about it, he owns a restaurant and he's your boss.
Exactly.
You're working for him, right? And
Like he's running a successful business.
yeah, you
that
guys
you're
are still trying
supporting.
to run a business, and you laugh at him like all day long.
So if they were friendlier to him, he might give them some business
yeah,
advice,
they
right?
might,
Like,
achieve their, dreams sooner. But the thing is, I feel
let's
like
end that show. What if that was the last episode? It's like, you know what? Broke girl. I'll tell you. I like to think that they call each other broke girl. I'm
Yeah.
sure they have other names.
yeah,
but
two broke girls.
yeah, they're like broke girl one. Our boss probably has a lot of wisdom. We should. And then even then, it's like really racist. Like everything it says after that starts with like Confucius say. Like I don't know.
They have a lot of like you're short or you have a small dick kind of joke.
Oh, okay.
I'm not saying, look, I like non-PC jokes, but I'm just saying like the landscape has changed. So these days you have seen more and more like Indian or Asian male characters who are not just a laughing stock.
That's true.
It's
true.
It's the bar is so low. Like I'm so moved.
I mean, as an Indian guy trying to do comedy, I feel like I don't know. I can't be that mad at Indian dudes getting laughs, but at the same time, it's like you shouldn't be laughing at my Indianness. Like that shouldn't be like that funny to you. Like, yes, I get it. We sound different. You know what I mean? But it's like if it's the thing that's hilarious to you, that's like, all right, you have some kind of.
But
problem.
it has changed. You see a lot of Indian or Pakistani. I know you guys are different, but to a lot of people, are you? You know?
Are we?
Come on, I know he's from Pakistan, but isn't he also from India?
I mean, there's more similarities than differences.
Okay, so you're probably the person who's supposed to break down the difference between India and Pakistan.
Yeah.
First of all, religion-wise, Pakistanis are Muslims, right? Most of them.
I think Pakistan is considered a Muslim state.
Okay, which India is not.
India is supposed to be more secular, but I think there's a lot of people that want to make it like a Hindu state and like think of it that way. But it's like not really, you know.
So the biggest religion in India is a Hindu.
Is Hinduism, yeah.
And then is Buddhism.
And then it's, I think, Muslims and then Buddhists after that.
Oh, really?
They might be tied. I'm not
Buddhism
sure.
Buddhism is from India. Now it's like not even in top 2.
There's a lot of Muslims. I mean, the refugee situation.
The monks need to keep it up.
monks who fucks monks? You know what I mean? It's like
they don't.
No one fucks. Yeah, that's no girl's type.
Oh yes.
I love his orange sheet.
They don't have
sex. Is just so offensive.
They don't procreate. That's
why. They don't have sex. Is that a thing with the monks?
I mean, in China, you're not supposed to.
You're not supposed to have sex.
Yeah,
How do they make new monks?
You just you gotta enlighten.
You decide you will also no longer have sex.
You convert yourself.
And then you become, it's all on conversion. They're not.
A lot of people in China became monks after like some tragic thing happened or some shit happened. They're like, this is pointless. Just life in general with you guys is pointless. I'm gonna go become a monk and just live in solidarity.
So the only thing keeping Buddhism going is Chinese nihilism.
No, it's like fuck you guys. Fuck life, fuck everything.
Yeah.
This is all meaningless. I'm just gonna go to a mountain and just like every day study some books in the little temple.
I bet those
and I shave my head and not.
No, I don't care about fashion anymore. Yeah, exactly.
And eat vegan, Not
but
because
there's varieties of Buddhists though, right? Like that's like probably like the best kind.
That's all Buddhists.
That's all Buddhist. So there's not Buddhists out there that like are like, okay, yeah, I'm Buddhist, but like I also get to have a wife. You know what I mean?
No, you can't do that. You can't do that. That's like
interesting.
Yeah. That's like the package, the starter kit.
Okay.
Yeah, but if you can't be a Buddhist without being a monk, because it's like you can't be a Christian without being like a nun, right?
Yeah. There are people in LA that would disagree with you. There are Buddhists that are chefs. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. There are Buddhists that are
like
showrunners.
My grandma is a Buddhist, but she has a husband.
Yeah.
But she's not a nun. We have Buddhist version of nuns too.
Yeah.
If she became a nun, she can't have a husband or she has to shave her head.
Man.
Even if you're a woman, you shave your head. You have to do they shave their head? No, they don't shave their head in Christianity. They just wear that thing, right?
They wear a thing for Christianity?
A nun?
Yeah, a habit.
Okay, the thing.
It's called a habit. I'm not even kidding. I swear to God.
The habit? What do you mean?
It's called a habit. That's what they call their hat. It's a habit.
It's a habit. They're wearing their habit.
Yeah, they're wearing a habit.
Okay. But if you want to become like a Buddhist nun, you have to shave your hair.
Okay.
Even if you're a woman, and then just eat vegan.
I feel like there's more commitment. You know,
stop fucking and then...
We got to really stop fucking. I don't think the nuns can fuck, but I think the priests can fuck, which is convenient for them. It sounds like a rule the priests made up.
When did they... Like, what do you think that made the first Buddhist or whoever made the decision? Like, let's just stop fucking. Like, who came up with it?
I think
they're like, yeah.
I think there have been many upset relationships throughout history. I feel like it's pretty easy to arrive there after. If you have a breakup that's bad enough, I think you'd quit.
It's actually pretty punk too. It's like, fuck everything.
Yeah.
It's like, fuck everything. Let's just stop fucking.
You respect celibacy? That's punk to you? Yeah. I guess.
Do you think incels should be all should be monks and... to kind of calm them down or whatever. I know
Yeah,
it's totally
I feel
different
like
groups.
incels could use a lot of varieties of help. I think Buddhism is a start for some of them.
Yeah.
Maybe they just need to go the opposite direction. Maybe they need to fuck one time.
There are a lot of like bad ideas that actually are good ideas. Like for instance,
From incels.
no, just in general. Like for example, I think incels should be monks. or
Okay,
actually try to
okay.
be, so they don't shoot up schools and whatever, and they just
Right.
learn how to deal with, like treat it as a religion, the celibacy,
Yeah, but I feel
Yeah.
like a part of being an incel is not doing that much work. And I feel like it's very effort oriented to be a monk.
And-
Part of being
yeah.
an incel is being angry while lazy.
Yeah.
You know?
And the other great idea I have is, I think you should have like a hooker in every workplace.
I should just have a hooker.
No. There should be a hooker in every company.
Uh-huh.
So the man can just go be gropey and grabby. So,
Okay.
so the female employees can be left alone.
What about the gay men who want to be gropey
Oh, you
and
can
grabby?
hire like a gay stripper too.
So now there's 2 hookers.
Yeah.
Depending on what you're into.
So there will be no HR complaints.
Okay.
Yeah. And
That should
then-
be that should be the new HR department. It should stand for hooker.
A man can just stop saying women are being too oversensitive, and women should stop saying, men are being
But
really,
people,
whatever.
people fall in love at work. You know what I mean? Don't you know anyone that's met at work and is like married with children now? Like,
My boyfriend's company actually has a lot of
yeah, I don't think it's
couples.
that weird for that to happen either, right? Like that sucks if that's like not
but it's
possible
still,
now.
Well,
Like,
but you
who wants to work there?
you still should have a hooker for the pervy guy.
You just want to have a
in the
hooker.
office.
Okay.
No. Just be there like a plant.
Okay.
You don't have to use it. It's like a hand sanitizer or like a like a
mother's
candy
room.
machine
Yeah.
or a coffee machine or a
Yeah,
vending
yeah.
machine.
Okay.
Right?
Okay. I understand. Or a gym.
You feel frustrated, you grab a little bit, you go back. You
So
don't
she
bother.
just waits in a room.
You just sit there and just doing like swiping her Instagram.
Okay, so she's on Instagram just waiting for dudes to come in and put hands on her.
Yeah, she
And
charges.
that's just her day.
That's just her day.
Okay, how much would you
I don't know. I
need
guess it's like hourly wage.
Hourly wage?
It's like a security guard. It's like a sex security guard.
from
like
for the other women?
like a rape guard, actually.
Okay.
Yeah.
But like she gets raped.
Not rape. Like she's like she prevents other women from getting sexually harassed.
But her consent is just assumed. Like
because she's a hooker.
hookers don't want to fuck everybody. I feel like hookers have standards too.
Oh, okay. That's a very interesting territory
Yeah.
then.
I'm here to defend the hookers. I'm a hooker guard.
So then the hooker will have to look over everybody's profile,
Yeah, the hooker would have to okay every single person that works at your company.
Okay.
So then you start to have this weird hiring practice where you're no longer hiring unattractive people because you want to make the hooker happy.
Yeah.
And that seems wrong too.
Interesting. But I feel like this is not as... I think this
I
is
feel
just...
like we're not going to have hookers in the office.
I think it's a great idea, though. I think it's just a micro, execution of the model that like Netherlands just have legal prostitution.
Yeah.
So actually, the sex
Why don't we just do
crime is
that?
way lower.
Yeah, there
But
should be
start from the
That's an
workplace.
office just for hookers. That's where they work. I'm fine with that. But don't bring her into my work. You know what I mean? And be like, listen,
You don't have to use it. I told you it's a candy
Yeah, but
machine.
I would judge men that do.
Look, if you're like fat, you can't blame the candy machine.
Some people like to fuck fat people.
I mean, what I'm
They
saying
don't have to get a
is-
hooker. See what I mean? There's multiple solutions.
All right, back to immigration.
Yeah. What's this podcast about?
It's called Immigrant Survivalcast. I feel like you've been surviving pretty well. How's life treating you?
I'm surviving.
In
You know,
LA,
I'm
yeah.
comfortable. Yeah. It's still.
You're not living in your car wrestling with homeless people. every
Not
day,
yet.
right? No.
Maybe if I'm lucky. No. I'd say the first, it's been a year now. It was a year this last Monday. And there were things that were certainly surprising about it.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm still here. I'm not dead. I'm not on cocaine. I haven't
it's a really
subjected
good-
myself to becoming a hooker for some office.
That's amazing. Not be on cocaine while being a comedian in LA. That's quite an achievement.
I've managed to avoid most
my
of the
hat to you.
cocaine.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah. I'm generally cocaine free.
Yeah. Do you know a lot of cokeheads?
Yeah.
Why? Okay. So every open mic I go to,
There's a lot of people doing coke.
a lot of people talk about, the last time I did cocaine.
Yeah.
Way too much.
I think that joke used to be, oh, last time I smoked weed, but now weed's legal and it's like boring.
Or they start a joke with, anybody here does cocaine?
Then they kind of just want cocaine.
Why do you think there's such a phenomenon about comedians doing cocaine? Yeah.
Yeah. I think it's just something that's, it feels like it's taboo, but like generally speaking, it's just kind of hack. Like, and it was the same thing with weed when everybody was smoking weed and it was illegal, and now weed is legal.
It's not cool anymore.
It's not that cool.
Yeah.
As it shouldn't be. It's just weed. I don't know. It was like medicine for people. You know what I mean? That was like what they were keeping illegal. I want it to be the boring drug so I could do it liberally without judgment. Yeah.
So more and more
No
people
one's like, oh man, anybody got any aspirin? You know what I mean? Like that's not a thing anywhere.
I also think a lot of comedians have the tortured artist syndrome.
What is that exactly?
It means, okay, so first of all, we don't have rock stars anymore. Like, just be honest. We don't have rock stars.
In comedy?
No, just in music.
Just generally speaking, sure.
Yeah, like nobody gives a shit about that anymore. Like, oh, my cat is barfing. She heard the word rock star and she's like,
that's gross. No, but I think rappers are the new rock stars, right? Like Kendrick Lamar is a rock star.
It's different. It's not like outrageous,
Right.
Like Rage Against the Machine. Not that anymore.
Yeah.
So comedians are like the last batch, or at least they consider themselves to be.
Like we're on the fringes of society.
Yeah, we're still. So what should you do when you're on the brink of the society? You do cocaine.
Yeah, I guess there's a little bit of self-indulgence in it for sure.
And then they are self-indulged in their own pain and shitty situation.
Oh, like they bathe in the novelty of it.
Yeah, I sleep on the couch for 3 years and I'm 40 because I want to chase my comedy dream.
Yeah.
Like they talk about it and they're proud of it, sort of.
Yeah, sucking at life is not a prerequisite for comedy.
Because I am an artist.
Yeah.
And this is romantic that I'm sleeping on a couch.
Yeah.
You know? That's what I call the torture artist syndrome.
It's certainly more romantic than working in an office that doesn't have a hooker, right?
Yeah.
Like it's definitely in that way. It's like there is a thrill in struggling, and I think Americans always are drawn to the drama of a struggle, and that's
people like us who are from countries where there are a lot of real
struggles.
Struggle.
Yeah, where
we're
people don't have clean drinking water. I'd like to have
a roof over my head, please.
Yeah, you have a couch to sleep on? Great, I'll bring my family. We'll all sleep on the couch. It'll be fun. No, there's something to be said about that for sure. But again, I think it's a natural condition of a society that is too well taken care of and coddled, I guess, is like eventually people are just going to get bored and start tearing shit down because, they feel kind of powerless to like further move it along at a velocity that makes them feel satisfied with themselves. So only thing that makes them feel like they're in control is like fucking shit up a little bit. You know what I mean?
Because they're too comfortable. So they're
too comfortable.
It's
exactly.
not cool. I want to be cool. So let me just sleep in my car.
Like, I mean, I don't know. I like drinking because I like escaping my problems. That's, you know what I mean? It's not because I think it like, makes me like, you know what I mean? Like, not, I don't know. When I first started drinking though, that's how I felt about it.
Are you an alcoholic?
No, but
really? Do you have a drinking problem?
I thought I did.
Yeah.
I stopped drinking for a couple of years, and then I made a deal with a friend of mine that I wouldn't start again until I ran a marathon, and then I ran it. So now I just drink whenever I feel like it, I guess. But it's still not like how it was before I stopped. I know when I was drinking a lot.
So what's so fucked up about you that made you do comedy?
I guess
Nothing's wrong?
Not that nothing's wrong. I think I find comfort in chaos. In a strange sort of way.
Maybe you should move back to India,
Yeah, maybe.
Or China.
Or China, for that matter. Honestly, no. I if I've learned anything about myself, I'm very at peace with my sense of self. If everything else is feeling crazy, like the more regular and routine and ordinary life becomes for me, and like more reliable, it becomes like the sort of I feel this weird complacency in the
so
spirit.
You have the syndrome too.
I have the syndrome too, but I've gotten better at managing it. You know, I
Yeah.
direct it towards like healthier channels. Like I exercise a lot. Like I try to, write more. Like I've become more studious and like, physically active as opposed to like destructive. Which is how it was for a long time.
So this comedy thing, do you have a plan B?
I don't know. I'm not really sure if this is even a plan A. Like it's just something.
Are you just sort of doing it, or you're like I'm gonna be?
I mean, I want to do it as much as I can, and I'd like to get better and better at doing it. And I'm not terribly interested in worrying about anything more than that. I'm taking my shots. Like I'm going to auditions, whenever I can get them. And I'm just trying to be a better performer and a better comedian. And I've noticed that if I just keep it on those things, like everything else just sort of falls in place into due time. And like, even if I don't get my favorite gigs and like my top shelf picks of like what goals I want to achieve and where I'd like to be, so long as I feel like I'm progressing and I'm getting to play shows and, like just getting opportunities that, I'm not exposed to and that aren't dull to me, I feel like it's moving at a comfortable pace. And, in order to stay zen, I feel like that's where I have to keep it.
Are you religious in any sense?
I wouldn't say I'm religious, but I do think there's value in self-reflection and thinking about life and how it affects you and the people around you.
You're not that kind of hippie who does yoga and meditate.
Sometimes I do yoga. Sure.
Dude.
There's a time and place for yoga. You know what?
Man.
I think
my cat is gonna barf again.
I think Indian people just get a free pass to do yoga wherever I want, here and there.
All right, since you're here, and this podcast is already racially charged, so why don't we go further?
Okay.
Why do white people are always so obsessed with the Oriental, like Indian kind of
Indian shit?
cultish shit?
I figured it out. I know exactly why. I think because there's been, especially in the 20th century, an overwhelming trend of disappointment in the institutions that govern Western living.
Yeah.
Our politicians are corrupt. Our religious, faculties are corrupt. Our banks are corrupt. Everything has just become very slowly unraveled and revealed to be deeply unreliable and untrustworthy. So I think people now are sort of escaping to metaphysical and spiritual
Oriental wisdom,
or just the unfamiliar things that seem like they carry more meaning than what they've already
because it
lost
sounds
faith
exotic
with.
to them.
Yeah, well, it's just because it hasn't bummed them out yet.
Okay,
you know what I mean?
Starting from the Beatles, it's like a trend that has many years of history.
Right. And I think if you sort of come up with, especially like the very rigid, implications of being a poor Christian, and then you go somewhere that's like, you just have to be alive and not hurt things and be okay with yourself and find a way to be that sort of okay without hurting anything else. That seems like a very comfortable departure from, if you don't follow these rules, you're going to go to a place where they cook you. Like that just...
It's more chill.
It's way more chill.
Yeah.
And it's way more accessible. And it's something that
just
allows anyone to step in. It's welcoming. It's warm. I think a lot of the values that it espouses are so fundamentally different from things that people are brought up with in Western culture that as soon as they feel disillusioned with that sort of like identity, they go to the very furthest extent out, like beyond that. And that usually brings them to like Eastern wisdom. And like, that's how you have girls named Becky, like smudging their office, in like prayer beads and a Lululemon.
Do you find it amusing? I always find it so amusing.
It's definitely odd. And it's because
when like on my Facebook feed, like white girls posting pictures of them not doing yoga, meditating and like some Oriental wisdom, like some inspirational quotes that's like from this guru or that Bhagwan. Like I just always like that's my reaction.
I know it seems silly, but it's like I don't know. I mean, if it's keeping them from shooting a place up, right? Like, what difference does it make if incels pray?
Oh, I don't think incels are into that at all.
You don't think incels are into yoga? There's not too many incels that are into stretching.
No. Our producer is actually an incel.
Oh,
A proud member of the
really?
incel community.
Okay.
Yeah.
What do you think of yoga, Maximo?
We can't hear him.
We
but
can't hear him.
Yeah.
Are you pro yoga?
I'm gonna repeat what Maximo said.
Wait, this is weird. Like, I don't even have a mic.
Oh, it's fine.
I
I
know.
can just repeat
Yeah,
what
yeah,
you just
it's okay.
said.
We're just asking.
Wait, what did you ask?
Are you pro yoga?
No.
No.
Is
God
yoga
damn you.
popular in the incel community?
Of course not.
Of course
Yoga
not. That's
is
what he
not
said.
popular.
Jesus Christ. That's what he said.
What's what the incels don't understand? You know, maybe you go take a yoga class, you meet a nice girl there.
It would make them very uncomfortable, and you're aware of that.
Maximo said
Only when you're bad at yoga.
if incels go to yoga class, they will make them really uncomfortable. And it's a bad idea.
Don't mix incels and yogi. Okay.
Yeah.
I think that's a fundamental problem in the incel community. You don't say yes enough. Watch the first act of Yes Man.
Think about it. Like,
You don't have a mic. So
imagine like just a weird, ugly dude in the corner of a yoga studio.
he said, imagine just a weird, ugly dude in the yoga
Can
studio.
you imagine that? I'm sure some of these yoga studios have seen weird, ugly dudes.
You're gonna go to like the instructor and just say like, "Hey, like this is making me uncomfortable."
And the yoga girls would go to instructors and say, he's making me uncomfortable.
I think, you know what? It's public yoga. You know what I mean? Sometimes there's just going to be some discomfort. I bet
Did you watch the documentary about that pervy
the Bikram
yoga instructor?
guy. I know. Oh my God. That was really disturbing.
What is it called?
It's called Bikram. I think that's what it's called.
Bikram. Okay.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
basically this guy who groped a lot of women, not just grope, women are willing to have sex with him.
He like assaulted women. Like,
But some of them are like assaulted. Some of them are really just like fell for him.
yeah, I'm sure that happened
And he's
too.
this goofy looking dude. Like,
I don't know. I feel like for women, looks aren't as important. I feel like they'll overcome how disgusted they are with a man if there's like other qualities. You know, if you carry yourself
Maximo,
a certain
the
way.
proud member of incel community, shakes his head
The
so
incel man
firmly.
disagrees, but I'm a firm believer. I mean, I think that goes for women too, for that matter. Like, I think, you know, if
What's your takeaway from that documentary?
You know what? Sometimes good things come from terrible people, and it's shitty that was allowed to happen in spite of, you know.
Do you think
how
it's a
awful
power thing?
It was a power thing, absolutely. I think he was a weak man,
Mm-hmm.
and that's how he got his kicks. I think he got off on it, and it made him feel under control to treat people like that.
I feel like that's not just a Oriental or Indian or Asian thing.
No.
Any
That was, like,
religion, any
abuse.
institution where there's a power structure, where there's a power hierarchy, the people who have power, it's really hard for them to not abuse it.
Yeah, power corrupts, and absolute power corrupts absolutely, right? Like,
Yeah.
it's one of those things.
Especially you have like personal worship towards this one person.
You're holding someone's future in your hands.
Yeah,
you know?
and especially when you're doing like yoga, it's natural to get a little grabby. Not grabby, like, you know, it's not.
Where do
it's
you do
natural.
yoga?
I don't do yoga.
Is someone grabbing you?
No. I mean, I have a friend, acquaintance. I mean, let me correct it.
Okay, not that close.
Yeah, not that close. He's a Canadian guy.
Okay.
I think he was suing Equinox. Is that what is it called?
Is that a yoga place?
No, it's a training place, and it's a personal trainer.
Oh, okay.
It's a personal
a
yoga
gym.
trainer.
Okay.
Yeah, but it's yoga.
Okay.
And then he's
so they teach
suing
you
them.
to teach yoga.
Yeah, he's
Okay.
suing them for some male instructor groping him while doing yoga. But, you know, it's weird because
You're asking me where does yoga instruction end and groping start? Like,
yeah.
I don't know. That's a tough call. I don't think I've done enough
I think
yoga.
I've even offended so many people who do yoga because I don't do that.
You have a lot of yoga listeners. Really?
I highly doubt it.
Yeah.
There won't be any more.
I know. They'll just quit yoga.
Do you do yoga?
On occasion. I don't like do it regularly, and when I do, it's always a grueling undertaking. But I enjoy it when I do get around to doing it, but I don't make it like a part of my week or anything like that.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you're like a very you're like a very pretty, I wouldn't say atypical Indian American, but first of all, you don't have an
I'd say
accent,
so. Yeah,
but
that's
you
probably
don't-
true.
You don't have a high paying tech job.
I don't.
Okay. How do your parents feel about it?
I don't think they're impressed. That's what you mean. No.
Hey, my parents aren't impressed by what I do either. So
Yeah. I mean, I don't think they're disappointed, but I think at some point people have to accept that just because someone's in your family, they're not going to make your favorite choices. And it goes both ways. You know what I mean? Like there's certain things about my parents that I'd like to change and they're not going to change their mind on, and that's fine. I think a healthy way to be in a family is to accept those differences and care for them in spite of that.
it's interesting, the dynamic between Indians and Asians, because we look at you guys like white people look at us. Because when white people say, look at the Asians, they're so good at math, they're taking all the tech jobs, they work so hard.
The other Asians are looking at Indians
and
like,
then
oh my God,
Chinese,
look at the
at least
Indians.
Chinese, look at the Indians, they're like taking all the
The
tech
Indians
jobs.
look at the Chinese and the Japanese.
No. But the difference is they're Indian managers. They're Indian. A lot of
Interesting.
Indian people in the management within the tech company.
Disproportionate rate compared to Chinese people.
Yeah, but Chinese people are coders, but then they stop at a certain point.
Interesting.
So that's why Chinese people always talk about Indian people. Like,
Is this true? Is there a sweeping trend of this particular
just
phenomenon?
think about it. The CEO of Google is Indian.
Yeah.
And that's just a very good example. And there are a lot of, Indian people who start companies or middle management, even like higher management. But Chinese people think they can get a pretty good job being being like a tech guy or senior software engineer, but that's it. Like they can't really climb up.
Interesting. Okay.
But Indian people, they can, and they also have those like outsourcing companies.
Yeah.
Who they can just like take people from their own country and just like they're really, united together and ascend together. We certainly lack that kind of ability because as soon as we have something, we just try to fuck each other over instead of moving.
I
up
realize
together.
that's what a lot of what it means to be Asian is, just to be better than other people. It's like a lot of strong Asian values are like, look how much better you are than these other people.
It's
like,
weird because a lot of Chinese people. I'm not in that group because I'm not in tech. But
Yeah.
I'm talking about people who are like in tech, super competitive, but they always had this kind of attitude of part jealousy, part admiration, and part, distaste about Indian people. It's a weird dynamic.
Okay. We're the Jews of the Chinese world, is what you're telling
Or you're
me.
the Jews of the Asian world.
Indians are the Jews of Asia.
Sort of.
I mean, the Jews are the Jews of Asia.
I would say you're the Asians of Asians. Like
We're
we are the Asians of
Asians.
whites.
Okay.
Like for we're
You're the Asians of the world, and we're
the Asians
the
of
Asian
Asians.
in that, like, given that paradigm, we're the Asians of Asia.
And I tell you a very good example.
Yeah.
Like in the Bay Area, right?
Right.
The Bay Area has the best school districts in the United States.
Okay.
And we're talking about Cupertino, Palo Alto.
Right.
Like really amazing
Public schools.
Public school.
Right.
But the problem is to be able to be in the very good school district, the housing price there is really high.
Right.
We're talking about homes are like $2.5 million minimum. So what Chinese people would do is they're like, I'm going to get a good job. I'm going to work so hard and I'm going to make so much money so I can afford a house in that district so my kid can go to a good school.
Right.
What Indian people do is we are going to we're going to rent the place with 4 other Indian families. And the 15 of us will all live in this very expensive home that I can afford myself, but if we put our
But
money
as a
together,
community,
we can do
right.
it. And our kids go to the same good school. And
Smart.
yeah, smart. Chinese are like, oh, that's insane.
That's
you know?
interesting.
But, the goal is achieved.
It seems like
Whatever
what
they're
you're saying is
yeah.
Indian people are more thirsty. So
No, resourceful. I think it's a good thing.
yeah.
It's the thing. It's really thinking outside the box.
It's true.
You're like, I can just do it now by doing this. But Chinese people are like, oh, I'm gonna do this, but I have to be rich first to afford a house. I buy a house and my kids go to the school. Yeah, it's like no.
Yeah. I wonder how much of that has to do with the fact that India was like basically enslaved by Britain till after World War II, right? Like,
Okay.
So I think they weren't independent till very recently.
Yeah.
Whereas I feel like China's been an independent country like to a greater extent for much longer.
Thousands of
right?
years. We were colonized for a little bit, but
We were
most
colonized
of the time. Yeah.
most of the time.
Okay.
So far as I know anyway.
Mm-hmm.
But like I wonder how much that has to do with it. But like any Indian person will tell you that there isn't enough unity in India.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's also, you know what I mean? Like because there's so many different kinds of people like in
Yeah.
such a tiny little space in India.
Yeah.
Like I might go extra hard for like my family and like the
Yeah.
people that I know, but I feel like Indians aren't necessarily rushing to help a different kind of Indian
Okay.
as immediately.
So
you know
the
what I
caste
mean?
system still.
Caste system is still a thing, but like it's more of like cultural differences. Like, just,
Okay.
you know, if you're from a different part of India and you don't speak the language, like already there's a divide now, right? Like
Oh, that's interesting.
yeah, but I don't know. I mean, I'm like sufficiently removed from like Indian
The
culture
environment
proper.
since you
like,
were 9. Yeah.
yeah, like it's for me. I don't necessarily even know if I have an appropriate frame of reference to be like making these judgment calls.
Yeah.
But I have heard these criticisms about Indian culture from my dad, and I don't know if he's just a racist or not either.
What's the criticism? I think it's a good thing about being resourceful and
Well,
really.
no, not about being resourceful, but just like like not as unified as you might like to think that we are. You know what I
if
mean?
you guys are not unified, that Chinese people are fucked.
like
'Cause-
incredibly not unified. But
Yeah.
like that's, I mean, you say that, but then I feel like especially in LA, like especially, I mean, this part of town, like you'll see those giant buildings
Yeah.
where it's just like 12 Chinese businesses, you know what
Yeah.
I mean? And how many of them make that much money, right? Like even like the dim sum place that I went to,
Yeah.
it was like in this sort of cross section of
Yeah.
streets where I look around and all the signs are in Chinese.
Yeah.
We figured, okay, maybe there's like 30 businesses here, but you have to throw into some kind of conglomerate, right? To
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
make this establishment
Yeah, this is our
possible.
turf. Yeah.
Exactly. That didn't happen by accident.
And there's no Indian town, right?
There's no India
Chinatown.
town.
Oh,
There's only
interesting.
Cerritos. And it's like a couple of streets.
Interesting.
And I think there's like there's little pockets. Like someone told me that in Inglewood there's like a significant Indian population.
Inglewood.
Yeah. And there's some good Indian shit out there. And like, yeah, up here in the valley. So I think it's, it's here and there. Garden Grove.
So you think they should? I mean, so in a nutshell, you're complaining why Russell Peters hasn't asked you to open for him.
I'm very upset about that. I'm very upset that Chris Rock hasn't asked me.
Oh, I mean Russell Peters. Come on.
I know. I'm Indian. He's
Yeah.
Indian.
Yeah, right.
Why aren't Indian people asking
And
me to be
Eddie
Indian with
Wong,
them?
hello.
I
You know,
know.
my DM is open.
Is Eddie Wong? Eddie Wong's Chinese. That's right.
Yeah, she's part Chinese. Yeah. Well, Ali
Oh,
Wong.
Ali Wong. Yeah.
Yeah.
But she's Chinese and
Vietnamese.
Vietnamese? Okay.
Yeah. I'm
Gotcha.
very upset about she hasn't DM'd me. She's like, hey, what about being unified?
Well, the beautiful
each
thing
other
about
out.
comedy is, that's how you'll know racism is over, when the unity is not necessary, right? When you can make it in spite of not opening for Ali Wong or other Chinese
There's a long
person.
way to go. Just look at black people. They've been fighting for it. Like I feel like Asian people are always being pretty not vocal enough
Yeah.
about getting treated fairly. And I think the fighting against this kind of injustice is just started not too long ago.
Okay.
Compared with African Americans, like
Yeah,
they
yeah,
have
yeah.
started it for at least over 50 years, I would say.
Sure.
Like formally, and they still haven't achieved or gone to where they want to be
they
or
have
where
a
they should be.
unique history with regards
Yeah.
to this country. Like their very existence is woven into the fabric of how things work here, and I think that's a lot. There's a lot more to comb over and parse out as
Mm-hmm.
opposed to Asian/Asian American issues.
It's different because if you talk about slavery and whatever, I'm not trying to diminish, what black people have been through.
Right.
Chinese people have been kept as slaves to build the railroads.
Right.
Japanese people, they're not slaves, but they were thrown into concentration camps in World War II for shit that has nothing to do with them. It's
But
Japan.
there were black slaves here for hundreds of years before any of that.
And then there are Native Americans who basically got slaughtered, like 99% of them got slaughtered.
The most effectively marginalized group of people in the history of mankind. Like someone told me, I don't know if this is entirely true, but like America's the most successful example of colonization because we've effectively
successful.
We just absolutely
wiped out,
decimated the culture that was not just the people here, but like the very lifestyle of these lands to capitalize on anything that we wanted to. So this whole system is built on that successful bloodshed.
And I think it's colonized the whole world. The very idea of me trying to have a perfect American accent, it's not a bad thing, but it says something.
But you feel that pressure, right?
I do.
Like, yeah.
Like unconsciously, you just think, oh, that is good. Why having a thick accent is bad. Or even you tell yourself it's not bad, but in reality, you feel the need to kind of blend in. And the number one thing is to speak like them.
Right. Well, the backbone of American culture is one tenet, which is just, purchase whatever's new. Consume.
Yeah.
And adjust and constantly, sort of go out of your way to try to be on the forefront of the cultural shift and not necessarily the cultural practice. So in that way, the very nature of American culture is very vapid, right? And I think people are definitely finding romanticism in certain elements of it, but generally speaking, I feel like that's what it is. But that's also kind of what it should be, you know what I mean? Because it's supposed to be changing. Like this is an experiment, right? Like it's supposed to have regularly introduced fresh new influences from different ways of thinking from different parts of the world. You know what I mean? Like all of these things are what make up American culture. So in a weird way, like maybe if more and more people don't have this accent and sound like you, then that'll become the American accent. Like pretty soon, like a slightly Spanish accent to speak English with is going to be the American accent. You know what I mean? Because naturally, like,
come on,
if there's more and more Hispanic people, maybe not like fucking, Cheech Marin, but something to that effect.
Carlos Mencia kind of accent.
Yeah. If everyone starts talking like Carlos Mencia, I'm moving to Canada. I'm done.
Canadian people just sound like people from Minnesota.
Yeah, but even people in different parts of Canada sound different. Like people in like Toronto sound very different than people in Quebec.
Yeah, it's true.
Fancy
French Canadians.
Yeah. This is I just think it's like, people like to think of, especially when we think about like Americans, like it's not a monolith, you know what I mean? Like that's what they didn't tell you about America before you moved here, was that every kind of person is here and they're all just shitting on each other.
I think I shit on enough people, tonight. I feel really good.
You feel good about the shit you've done?
The last segment of today's show is called Something Awesome. It's just something you want to recommend, like food or music or a restaurant or movies or anything.
Let's see.
You want me to go first?
Please do.
Okay, so I recommend any DMV services online. DMV services is like, okay, say you want to register your license or renew your license, or your registration. If you go through the official route by doing it at the DMV, they are incompetent and they will screw it up. For instance, I changed my address and I updated twice. Once online and once I went to DMV and I handing the application to update my address.
Okay.
But they still didn't update it. And then my registration was never mailed to me. I filed it didn't mail to me, and then I parked my car and I got a freaking ticket about okay, your registration, the
Yeah.
ticket, the little sticker is not updated.
How much was that ticket?
It's like $70 or $90, something like that. So it's really awful. But if you go to, I'm not going to recommend any specific service. There are a lot of different services. Just Google like DMV service, right? What you do is you pay like $20 or $30 and they will do it for you. And it's like they will send you the PDF version of your like renewed, registration immediately. So you
Okay.
always have it on your phone and they will mail it to you. And the nice thing about it is if you don't receive it, you call them and somebody will be on the phone very soon. There's no wait time. There's no callback.
You know what? I'm gonna take you up on that because I gotta get my registration updated soon.
Yeah,
so.
and then you call them, they will mail it back to you again, like instantly. They will like FedEx to you overnight. All of it, pay $30 to let this trouble go away. Like I've learned enough. Like I'm not rich, but it's nice sometimes to throw a little money to make the trouble go away.
That's a worthwhile $20.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. It's weird because I feel like this
No,
is
update your registration? Like,
yeah, they will.
no shit. Okay.
And you would see the quotes immediately once you type in your like
I might have to
your
have
VIN
you
number.
like DM me the link for this because you just changed my life. I
Yeah.
didn't know this was a thing at all.
You type your VIN number, it will tell you, okay, this is your price this year, like $250, and you have a parking ticket you haven't paid, you have to pay it now. This is how much.
Right.
This is the balance, and you pay them, and then you got a registration updated, document immediately.
You can just print it out.
You can print it out, and then it was you type in that address. Doesn't matter which address, just give them your current address. They will send it to you, the sticker. And everything.
How long does that take for them to send it?
I think within a week. There's one time I didn't receive it in a week. I called them. They just FedEx it overnight. They said, okay, I don't know, maybe send to the last address. But they have real customer service because they're a business.
Yeah.
They want to make the $30 or $20.
I feel like you shouldn't tell people about this. I
Why?
feel like this shouldn't, because then everybody's going to start using it and then they'll be busy.
No, there are multiple. Like I use this one, but they're like, you just Google. Just choose the one that has the highest ranking of Google. Because think about it. If they figure out how to rank first, either by throwing money or Google ads to be on top, they know what they're doing.
Okay.
You know?
All right, sure.
So that is my
Very
recommendation.
strong-willed people.
I think DMV should be ashamed that they're so incompetent. A business like this can exist because they shouldn't exist.
They shouldn't exist.
It shouldn't
But it's
exist.
become necessary.
It's necessary. Just so do it. Google
This is
it.
like a more sophisticated version of like people that wait in line at the Supreme store.
yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, God, this is amazing.
Yeah, I would DM you the link. Yeah, what about
Please
you?
do.
Yeah.
I mean, nothing's going to beat that. That's fucking great.
Yeah, just instant.
Something
Just square it out of the
awesome.
way. Yeah.
Let me think. What's the most awesome thing I've just gotten? Man.
Maybe just a restaurant you like to go to.
I just read this book
Yeah.
called The Subtle Art of Not Giving a Fuck. Have you heard of this
Okay.
book?
Can you repeat the title again?
It's called The Subtle Art of Not Giving a
The
Fuck.
Subtle Art of Not Giving a
Yeah,
Fuck.
it's by Mark Manson. It's a popular book.
Yeah.
My girlfriend had it, so I was like, I've just been meaning to read this. So I just pulled it off her shelf and I just finished it. I blew through it in about 2 weeks, and I read pretty slow. So,
What is it mainly about?
it's a self-help book, but it's like, I don't know. It's not really wishy-washy.
Yeah.
Like it's a little
It's not
more like-
tacky.
it's not tacky.
Just be positive. Not that.
It's none of
Yeah.
that. And it talks about those kind of messages. And it's just, I guess, a little more real than like some of the other like self-help advice that I've been given. And like if it helps people, I think that maybe have like social anxiety or if you're depressed, if there's just it could just be one, like it just gives you a bunch of different tools that you could have in your arsenal if you're someone that thinks about, your state of mental wellness a lot.
That's good. It's
So,
the
yeah.
subtle art of not giving a
Not
fuck.
giving a fuck. I'm not going to say everything in it is going to be amazing for you, but if you read it, there'll probably be something in there that you really appreciate. So I think it's something that, all people should pick up and at least check out.
Cool. The subtle art of not giving a fuck.
Yeah.
Thank you
It's
so
a quick
much.
read. It's only like a couple hundred pages.
This is a good episode. Thank you so much for being
No
here.
worries. Thanks
All
for having
right.
me.